Nicolene?
Let me just try to contact her. Maybe she's still busy.
She's checking her,
I'm
you know,
here.
the meeting chats.
Oh, she's here. She's here.
Yeah.
I was just eating some of my food.
Oh,
I don't want to
sorry.
chew in your ears.
Okay.
But I'm back. We can start when we're ready.
Nazmira, Dr. Are you all ready? Are you all
Ready?
yeah, can we start?
Yes, sure. I'm ready.
Okay. All right. So, Nicolene, we're going to be doing then the statement of financial position now. When we're done, if there is time, then we'll take questions.
Perfect. So what I've tried to do with if I get a question on doing financial position or any set of financial statements, if it's your statement of comprehensive income, your statement of financial position, your statement of changes in equity, or your cash flow statement, always make sure your template is right and ready. Make sure you know non-current assets, what's underneath that, where does your current assets fit in. Make sure you have total assets and that it adds up, and put in your sum totals for non-current assets, your sum totals for current assets, and make sure you have all these headings like equity and liabilities, equity, non-current liabilities, current liabilities, and then at the bottom your total equity and liabilities. For those that continue and maybe even in more questions to follow, you actually do get marks. When I used to mark for UNISA, I think I marked third year. They actually give you marks if you have your template right and if you have your headings correct. I don't know if it works like that for the first years as well, but basic things like just having your actual name there that says this is a statement of financial position at this date for this company. It should be there. You get marks in the future. So and it's just good to know these things because it will definitely help you going forward. And you need to have your currency symbol there. Yeah, so that's just basic principles. I think that will just add benefit and help you in the future. So again, if we go back to what did they actually give us in the question, and maybe what I'll do is I will quickly just bring these numbers over. Maybe I can just quickly snip it and then you can see the numbers that I'm talking about. So what I will do is I will just put this next to my questions here or my numbers here. Then we can easily see where it's coming from. Okay, just want to make it slightly smaller so that it fits in here. I hope you will all be able to see. So if I look at let's start with non-current assets. So the only non-current assets based on the pre-adjusted balance that I could see was property at fair value, the 350,000, and equipment at cost of 34,000. I didn't see anything else like vehicles or furniture and fittings because that's all property, plant and equipment related. I did see accumulated depreciation equipment. So now you need to bring all these numbers just back into this line. And I think I saw in the chat that someone wants to see the calcs or the actual what is in this number. Yeah, I'm highlighting it there so that you can see what is in that number. How did I get to this total to 367,100? But basically, you just start with what they gave you. And the one, if I go to the pre-adjustment statement, it's 34,000 Rand. They've given it to us. The accumulated depreciation is a negative of 15,000. So you deduct that. Then they've also given us property at fair value, 350,000. And then you might wonder, but what is that minus G39? And that was just the depreciation that they ask us to calculate for the year. So that number, if I had to type it in there, was, if I go down to the journal, it was 1,900 Rand. So let me just type it in there, and then you can see it. It still gets to the same answer. So it's 367,100. So it was just the sum of your property at fair value, your equipment at cost, less your accumulated depreciation, less the depreciation that you had to calculate for the year. So that's property, plant and equipment, non-current assets. Then if we go to current assets, current assets is made up of inventory, trade and other receivables, cash and cash equivalents. So inventory, if I just go back to the additional information they gave us, 1.2, they said there's stationery on hand of 1550. And you just had to bring that onto the balance sheet. And if I go back to the journal entry, that was the journal entry that supports that inventory number. You brought in that inventory of 1550. It's an asset on your statement of financial position. Okay. Then your trade and other receivables. This one is a bit of a few things that we need to add together, but I'll show you what was it, what else was included there. So if I look at the pre-adjustment statement and I look for trade receivables, it's here, it is 26,100 Rand. So that was the first one. So there you can see in my calculation, 26,100. Now, if I go back to my journal entries, and I'm going to highlight for you which journal entries triggered trade receivables. I'm just going to highlight them for you in purple. And all these numbers that I'm highlighting in purple, you now need to put onto that line item. Okay, I think there was that the only two? Let's just see if I didn't miss anything here. Oh, I think that also included the prepaid expenses in there. Yeah, so that one also needs to go in there, and I'll explain that. I think I said earlier, I gave an example, but I'll discuss that now. And so if we look at trade and other receivables, let me mark this in purple, then you can see what I'm going to do now. I'm going to start with what did they give us? They gave us 26,100, okay? So in here, I'm just going to say equals 26,100. Then the first additional information they gave us was that tenant that owed us money for 2 months, the 3,500. So I'm going to add that to that number they gave us. And then your next one was that data that they said disappeared. We're not going to get the money, so we can't have that asset. And then you deduct 2650. And then the last one was the insurance that was paid in advance. It's a prepaid expenses, it's an asset, and then you will just say plus 185 because we debit the asset. And that's your 27,135. Like I said earlier, this line item, it has a few things in it. It has normal trade payables, it has accrued expenses, it has other payables. If you had to prepare the notes to the financial statements, in your note, you would have split it out so that they can see what makes up this number. And the same applies to trade and other receivables. In this line item, we had trade receivables, we had other receivables, we had prepaid expenses. So all of that makes up this total. Okay. Then if we look at cash and cash equivalents, this was also a number that they gave us. They said bank, it's favorable, and that's 24,208. And that was everything that I could pick up in this pre-adjusted balance sheet or balances that is classified as current assets. So if you add all of that together, so 15550 plus the 27135 plus the 24208, then you get your current assets 52893. And then your total assets is then just your non-current assets plus your current assets. So it's 367,100 plus 52893. And that gives you 419,993. Then, if we look at your equity and liabilities, the equity, they gave us capital. Capital is 149,000, and they also said drawings was 6084. So if I just look here, it's 149,000 Rand less the 6084 because drawings decrease your capital. And then in here, you might think, what is this again that I'm adding here? And that is just your profit for the year. So with your capital, you just add the 25,847 in part A to get to your total capital, which is your equity. So this 25,847 is now included here. That's how you get to capital. Now, if we move on to non-current liabilities, again, they gave us this number. It's your long-term borrowings. It was the mortgage, and that is 248,000 Rand. You just put it in there, nothing else. And then next one is your current liabilities. Current liabilities, I will mark this again in a color so that we can see what we need to add up here. But if we start, let's go to the journals, and then we can see which items will make up trade payables. So definitely your income received in advance. So I'm going to make that blue. And then your water that we had to accrue for, that was the 310. And then there's one more, the accrued expenses for the interest that we had to account for, 2170. Now, if I had to go back here, and then I will just add them all together. So the first one is then 750. That was a credit, your income received in advance. We had trade payables where we had to accrue for the municipal water and electricity, 310 Rand. And then the last one was your interest that you had to accrue for the 1 month, 2170. And that gives me a total of 3230. And then what you do is you just add them all together. You take your equity, the 168,763 plus 248,000 plus 3230. And that is 419,993. And you always need to make sure that your total assets equals the sum of your total equity plus liabilities. If not, then your statement of financial position does not balance. And if you, in coming years, if you continue with financial accounting, if this does not balance, you actually lose marks. I don't know, I don't think it's like that in first year, but always make sure that you do get this to balance. And that was the end of part B.
Okay, thank you for that, Nicolene. Okay, we're going to take a few questions. Just give me a moment, so I'll unmute. Okay, Narisha, I'm going to unmute you. Please ask your question.
Good evening. Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Thank you for the class. It's very formative. And I would like to ask on cash and cash equivalent. What are if the bank balance was unfavorable, how are we going to record it? How are we going to subtract it on the current assets?
No. So bank, when it's an unfavorable amount, so it means there's an overdraft. So if it's in overdraft, it will be a liability because then you actually owe the bank money. So then that will come through in your current liabilities. Um, for companies like the bigger financial service providers like the banks, they will show that as a separate line item under current liabilities. In your examples, my colleagues can just correct me if I'm wrong here. I think you also probably show it as a separate line item. If not, you would maybe add it with your trade and other payables. So it would come through in your current liabilities, but you're not allowed to net it off in your current assets if it's unfavorable.
Okay, thank you. I understand. I also have a question on section A.
Yes.
I can see on this example, other comprehensive income for the year. We didn't have anything. Can you give me some of the example if we need to record there?
Yes, absolutely. So, an example of what other comprehensive income for the year will be, and I don't think you have come across something like that yet, but it will definitely come in the next, if you continue with FAC 2 or 3, you will see it. So, if it's, so let's say you have a local South African company, but you also have a business in, let's say, Australia. Now, um, if you bring I'm going to just talk about, because the currency that they use there would be Australian dollars. So if you had to bring those numbers from Australia into your South African numbers, to your South African financial statements, there's some technical accounting that happens where you need to take your income statement and you convert that at a specific rate. So let's say 1 Aussie dollar is equal to 10 Rand. I'm just using an example, so don't quote me. Your income statement will come in at a specific rate, so average rate, and your balance sheet will come through at a specific rate. Now, there's a difference between how you account for it on your income statement versus how you account for it on your balance sheet. And that difference come in here in your other comprehensive income. That's very technical, but you don't need to worry about that. It's not going to happen in this year, next year, and the year to follow if you continue. Another example is in property, plant, and equipment. There's two methods on how I just need to think about it. I think it's the revaluation method. And in there, you can also, if you had to fair value your property, you don't recognize your property according to the cost model. You bring it in via the revaluation model. And if let's take any building. If I take let's say I have a property company and that building is worth R1 million, and now I get an external valuer to come and value that building, then um, that building is maybe now worth 1.5 million. That increase from 1 million to 1.5 million, that 500,000 Rand can come through in this line, but it also depends on the accounting policy. But that's two examples that I can think of. There's also another one, I think in IFRS 9, but it's again something I don't think you will do in accounting 1. And I actually don't want to discuss it because it's too technical. I don't think you need to know about it now. I'm just going to confuse you a lot. But that's normally
Yeah,
what will
I
come
can
through.
understand. Thank you so much.
It's a pleasure. But if you
Yeah,
continue, you're gonna see a lot more of that, the stuff that will come through in that line.
yes, thank you. And ma'am, thank you so much for showing us how to tackle this question. It was so easy because you started with the general journal. The question was so easy and understandable. Thank you so much.
I'm so glad. We really try to help as much as we can. I'm glad it's useful.
Okay, thank you for that. I'm going to unmute the next person. Tatania, please. And you can ask your question.
Hi, I wanted to understand the back on depreciation, but I think the equation was given that to get the depreciation for diminishing balance, you take the carrying values and subtract the accumulated depreciation, and all of the staff income comes. Thank you.
Sorry, I couldn't hear, but are you okay, or should I show you the calculation?
Just show me for proof's sake.
Okay, so they gave us the cost price of the equipment, and that was 34,000 Rand. And they said accumulated depreciation is 15,000 Rand. So your carrying amount is always your cost price less your accumulated depreciation. And that is your carrying amount, and that's 19,000 Rand. Now they said your depreciation is based on your diminishing method. So you need to take your 10%. So I'm just going to say 10%. And then you need to say the 19,000 Rand multiplied by the 10%. That gives you the depreciation of 1,900 Rand.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Pleasure.
Okay, the next person is Chumeka. I've unmuted you. Please ask your question.
Thank you, madam. Thank you very much for the information. Evening, everyone. No, my question is how to expect maybe the question on this. I've heard you talking about knowing the items, but which items falls under non-current asset when we are requested to maybe to draw a statement of financial position. Then I have to know, but I have to put the name of the company and also know about what items falls under non-current, what items falls under current asset, and then I have to total up. So I add up the current asset and the total and the non-current and make the total asset, and then know what falls under capital. So in a question, I have to expect you giving me this, or I have to know about out of the information I've given. Then I have to go back on this pre-adjustment balance and pick over this is the property, it falls under non-current asset. This is the plant and equipment, it falls here. Then go and understand about these are the sub items that fall each and under each and every subheading. This is how I should prepare myself for
Yes.
assessment.
Yes. Yeah, correct. Because all your study units covered all these specific items like property, plant, and equipment. In that study unit, they would have told you that it is a non-current asset. when you did inventory, they would have told you in the study material it's a current asset. Same for trade and other receivables, cash and cash, and then also on the study unit for non-current liabilities and current liabilities. I think my suggestion is, if you get a trial balance like this, I've in very few examples seen that they actually tell you this is current or non-current asset. You have to study that, you need to know that. But what I will do is I will take the trial balance and quickly just write it for myself and make a note and remember that this is non-current asset, this is a current asset. Put it like just next to it so that when you start to do it, you can immediately pick it up, or just color code it for yourself if you do it on paper. Or just make a note for yourself and put all the non-current assets in. Start with a heading, say this is your non-current assets, tick them all off, whatever is easiest for you. But if I get a trial balance, I think that's the easiest for me to quickly just say what each one is. That helps you when you do your actual financial statements.
Okay, thank you very much. And again, can you repeat me on what is covered under trade and other trade receivables? I've heard you when you were saying that the trade receivable control was considered, that 3.5 is the rent income was also considered. And then what's next?
Yeah, so let's look at that together. So if I just go to the pre-adjusted statement, pre-adjusted balances, trade receivables, they gave us is 26,100. So you can see it in there, right?
Yes.
Then if I go back to the journal entries, based on the additional information, the first one was the tenant that owed us the 2 months rent. So that was the one where we had to record the rental income for the 2 months and also raise the data for 3,500. So that was the second number that I added there. And
Yes.
then the next purple one was the one where they told us that data disappear, it's not going to pay us, and then you
Yes.
had to write it off.
Write
So
off,
then I
yes.
deducted the 2,650 there, and
Yes.
then the last one in purple is the prepaid expense, the insurance premium that was paid in advance, the 185. So that's the plus 185 there.
How becomes an asset?
Sorry, just repeat that.
How becomes an asset?
How does it become an asset?
Is.
Okay, so let's go back to the actual note that they gave us. They said the insurance premium for April was paid in advance. The premiums are equal monthly amounts, okay?
Yes.
So
Yes.
If I look at my income statement, and I'm going to make this a long story, but I think to color it in, maybe at the end, it will explain it all well together. So if you look at your income statement and stuff like insurance or telephone or municipality rates and taxes, those are all monthly expenses.
Expenses,
And
yes.
if you look at your income statement at the end of the year, you just want to see 12, right? In this example, there was one additional month in there. So we had to take that out. But they did tell us that expense was paid in advance. So what
Yes.
I'm going to show you now is what they've actually done wrong. And that's how you need to think about this, because this journal is actually a correcting journal, because you need to take that out now. But what have they done when they actually paid the premium? So this is a step that they didn't ask you, but that I'm going to show you now. How did this 185 ended up in the
Asset, yes.
into this line in that 2405, né?
Yes.
This 185 is in there. So
Yes.
when they did that entry, they did this. They said, I paid out of bank 185 and I debited insurance expense. That's what they did, but this is wrong. They shouldn't have done this. Okay? They've paid it. Yes, fine with that. But this insurance expense, it can't be there. So now you need to fix that. So what do you do to fix that? You credit insurance expense. So now you're taking it out. So I'm just going to show you. If you do this less your credit there, it's out of insurance expense now. So this was the wrong entry. That is what they've done to bring it into the pre-adjusted numbers. Bank, we're happy with. It's fine, they paid it, it should be there. But now your other part of it is, this is an expense that they've paid for the next financial year. And anything that is paid in advance for an expense is a prepaid expense, and a prepaid expense is an asset. And that's why you debit it here.
Oh, okay, because it's still my money is still there. So it can be reversed to my bank in any way.
It can't be reversed out of your bank. You paid for it, but what will happen? So now I'm going to just show you for the next financial year what's happening. And I think it's good to see these things because it just makes it a bit more clear. So if I had to do the accounts for the next financial year, I'm going to also take these two accounts and then you
Okay.
will see what happens. So in March 26, we will say, I need to bring that insurance expense now onto the statement of comprehensive income. So I'm going to debit it because it needs to show there. It was for April 25. So I debit my expense. And now what happens is you're actually now going to reverse this. It's no longer going to be there. So you're now going to credit this account, the prepaid expenses. So at the end of March 2006, your prepaid expenses will then be zero because there's nothing prepaid anymore. It's now sitting in the right place as an expense on your income statement. It's no longer prepaid. So you just always need to make sure if you do your next financial year, what happened at the end of the previous financial year? Was there prepaid expenses? Was there income received in advance? The next financial year, you need to clear that. It needs to go to zero, and then you can bring that income or expense into your next financial period. This is only temporarily because you can't show this on your income statement for 25. So how do you bring it in? You bring it in as an asset of 185, but the next year it will just reverse out. It will disappear because you can't bring that expense in.
Much clearer. Thank you very much.
It's a pleasure.
Thank
Sorry, I was struggling with my mute button for some reason. Sorry, Nicoline.
It's okay.
The next hand that we have, although I'm very cognizant of the fact that we only have 6 minutes left, so I don't know if you want to take the next hand, maybe one more hand, and then we can conclude, or do you want to, is there maybe some conclusion that you wanted to add right at the end that maybe we stop now and then you finish off? So up to you.
I'll take one or two more questions. It's fine. And then, yeah, we can conclude.
Perfect. So the next hand that we have is A. Samuels. So I've allowed you to unmute. You can do so.
Hi, good evening.
Hi.
I wanted to know if we made a loss on the comprehensive income or loss, do we subtract that amount from the capital because you added the profit in there?
Yes, so I'm going to maybe just show you an example quickly. So if I change the rental income, I'm just going to, what I can actually do is, let me just add another expense here. And this is an example. It's not part of the question. I just need to make that clear. So let's say we have, this is going to be let's say we have repairs and maintenance. This is another expense, maintenance. It's just an example to show you what will happen. So let's say this was 30,000 Rand. Then you have a loss of 4153. So in here, you would have then just said less 4153. But then,
Okay.
yeah, the other side of this would have probably be bank. So I just need to fix bank then. I would have probably then had to say less 30,000 so to get this thing to balance at the end of the day because there's two entries to it. But yes, you would have just deducted it from your capital if it's a
Okay.
loss. Yep,
Thanks.
cool.
Okay, the next hand we have is from Sishi Clan. I'm going to allow you to unmute. Sishi, you can unmute. Sishi? Okay, we're gonna try the next one. The next one we have is Spepelo, and I do apologize if I'm pronouncing that incorrectly, but you can go ahead and unmute.
Good evening, everybody.
Hi.
I just wanted to ask that since you showed us that attempting this question using a general journal on the side is easier, is it like going to be a problem if we like bring a clear piece of paper with us when we write an assessment that has a webcam and just write the general journals on the side and then just complete the income statement and the thingy on the like in the assessment?
You are allowed to bring in a clean paper. Yes, as long as there's nothing written on it, it's fine. Because the webcam will spot everything.
Okay, thank you.
Cool.
Okay, and then yeah, I think that looks like the end of the hands. So that's great. Nicolene, I have okay, wait, hold on. We have another one. One more. Okay, we're gonna take the last one. Simfumene, you can unmute now.
Good evening. Just a quick one, ma'am. I saw a municipal tax. Can you briefly explain that municipal
Was
tax?
it the water and electricity one? Which one was that?
No, can you go back one? Go back again.
Okay, yes. With the municipal tax.
Yes,
It's
municipal tax.
4333. Yeah, so
Yes.
as an example, that would be so if you own a property, you have to pay rates and taxes to the municipality, and that is a monthly expense. That the rates and taxes also depends on the value of the property. The municipality has a model how they calculate it, so it's a percentage of the value of the property. But normally in your questions, they will just give you this amount, but this is the same as rates and taxes. It's an expense.
Or it's an expense because we are paying. Right.
Yeah, it's an expense. It's not an asset. It's not an asset because it's not uh how can I explain this? It's not something that will create future economic benefits to you. So it's not it doesn't suit the definition of what an asset is. It is it's just an expense. Yeah.
Okay, no, it's fine. I'm still going to check.
I think if you go back to your theory just on what is an asset, and if you think
Yeah.
about rates and taxes and any expense, and if you try to apply rates and taxes or insurance or water and electricity, if you try to include that in your asset definition and try to tick all the criteria for when an asset can be an asset, you will see that it won't suit the definition of what is an asset.
Yeah, I do understand those ones like insurance and electricity. But on this one, that is tax, I was bit confused. That's why I was raising a question.
So you can also see rates and taxes. I would see it as the same as basically water and electricity. It's also included on your statement that you get from the municipality. The rates and taxes is used by the municipalities to do infrastructure and to pay the bills of the municipality employees. So they bill you for your rates and taxes. That's how the municipality eventually get money, is by billing you through rates and taxes and water and electricity.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much, Mim.
It's a pleasure. Okay, I think our time is up for the evening. I hope you all find the session useful, and yeah, I think for those of you that's busy with your assessments, all the best, and really want to just encourage you to make use of the MyUNISA platform, to reach out to your e-tutors, to reach out to all the different portals that's available to you. If you struggle with anything, there's a lot of us willing and able and wanting to assist you. So yeah, please make use of that, and then I hope you all have a good evening. And thank you for participating and asking questions.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Nicoline. I just want to quickly say, if you guys have any further questions, please post them in your e-tutor sites to your e-tutor, and they'll be more than willing to assist you. Also, you can go back to the recording if you want to revisit any of the concepts that Nicoline presented. So thank you all for your participation this evening. Have a good night. Take care. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye, guys.